Hi, Roger. Hi, buddy. How are you? You home slaughtering to the deer, are you?
Yeah, I guess so. I was just coming out there. Every day at 1 road, it's raining.
Well, the deer do rain dances.
Yeah.
Barry. Procurement.
Okay, thanks.
There's always an emergency. If we consider that. Okay, we're going to call a meeting to order for November 3rd at 3 p.m. It's actually 12 minutes after 3. And we're going to ask for a motion immediately to go into executive session to, Wade, you want to fill us in on that?
Yes, discuss St. Factory stores with outside counsel litigation.
So we have a motion to go into executive session.
I make the motion.
Seconded by saying all in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Ordered. Have it all, please.
Not yet.
Okay.
Since 1992, 90%.
Nice, Dave.
Thanks, Steve.
Why is it 9% interest? Who makes that?
That's a statute.
That's statutory. No, that's in there. No, that's not. That's a line.
No, it was 9%.
Still 9%. It was kind of low.
There was a time when the market was better, too. But back then, wait a minute, the market's 13, 18, 23%. You only get those 9 with it. That's what the legislature says. Now it's at 3% before it gets to 9.
Why don't they tag it to the applicable federal rates and reduce it?
Why don't they do that to legislative salaries and judges' salaries and, like you said?
I would say you had a decision, have to do it right away. And you have to make it every year for all those reasons. We passed 60% of the legislation every so many years.
Okay, we're going to call the meeting back to order from executive session. Nothing out of executive session in the hours today, and no action was taken. So we're going to the regular minutes, letters of communications. I would just like to say that we received a thank you card from Pat Hill telling us that I finally got a tip. She says, I don't do another commission of the new print of the bridge. I don't plan to work 50 years. God bless her. And she sent a very nice card. It's here for everybody. All the board members that have seen it. She's a great person, and all the people here are. And I want to say thank you for that. It's very nice. So with that, is there any other letters of communication?
There are a couple of things I'd like to bring to your attention. The press release from the Office of the State Comptroller, Tom DiNapoli, regarding 65% of the Highway Bridge and Trust Fund money that's being diverted to other places. We are on that list as one of the projects not being funded. There's a nice article or a nice series of photos and letters from school children in Norfolk Central School District that toured the Division Port Authority's number 12 engine. There were 4 different classes from Rick Short's class over there that toured the Division Port Authority's engine, toured APC paper, and also went to the Rail Museum the same day. And you'll see some of the nice letters, thank yous from the school children. The third item I'd like to bring out to your attention is Toll Road News, which showing U.S. Canada traffic continuing to be weak, down 7% on last year's numbers, and everything else was just general news articles, with the exception of the last page, which is the Public Border Operators Association listing of crossings.
Yes. Okay, any questions? Approval of board minutes, if any? None? Comments and presentations to citizens regarding the agenda items? Okay, staff reports. Mr. Davis?
A couple of key things to hit. In the interest of time, the Ogdensburg Prescott International Bridge, we're still pursuing $90 million in bridge rehabilitation funds. We've met with parties that you see there before you. One interesting issue has come up on the Canadian side. We had a meeting Steve and I went to a bridge and tunnel security provisions of the International Bridges and Tunnels Act. These are regulations that will be put forth by the Canadian government and imposed on us at some point in the future, probably 2010, 2011 timeframe. This is a series of 3 meetings before they develop the regulations, and we are through 2 of those 3 meetings. What they'll do is then they'll develop the regulations, post them in their version of the Federal Register. We'll have the opportunity to respond, and then we'll go from there.
And it's important to point out that they don't own any part of the bridge, and they're going to enforce regulations upon us so that their citizens can use our bridge.
Yes, that's correct. And we also asked the insightful question at the meeting of, is this going to be funded in any way, shape, or form? The answer was emphatically no.
Maybe by your government, right?
Yes. We had a good meeting with Army Corps of Engineers for the Port of Ogdensburg. We've interacted with the port, with the Army Corps 2 times in the past month. We conducted an on-site tour facility with 4 of their personnel who came from Buffalo. This is in advance of the second 107 study. Also, immediately preceding the Bridge and Tunnel Operators meeting, we met with the Army Corps of Engineers. We're doing part of a presentation at the Great Lakes Coalition of Shallow Draft Harbors. What that is, that's a coalition of harbors that are small commercial, kind of like we are, and shallow draft harbors, which are defined as 14 feet in depth, that are looking to lobby to get funds for that classification of port facilities. So we'll stay on top of that. Completed discussions on the draft North Country Transportation Freight Needs Study. The consultant was originally supposed to be here today. He will not be here today, and as a matter of fact, he has moved on to other things. So I'm hopeful we'll get them in here on the December 9th meeting, which is our next scheduled meeting, and be able to wrap that project up. At the airport, it's been very busy with the apron expansion, the PAPI project, and also the commercial aviation hangar project. Been working with the I-98 group, just several discussions with the city of Ogdensburg. The Norwood Recreation Trail folks have been in, and we've attended the North Country Alliance, which has been retooled into an organization that Empire State Development will ultimately fund with marketing dollars. Primary things on the plate is the North Country Freight Needs Study, the OBPA master plan. That is really, it's super critical at this point because we want to have that presentation to the board and then take elements from the OBPA master plan and with your approval through the Strategic Planning Committee and then the full board adopt those into our plan and go ahead and roll those out into staff objectives. Be happy to answer any additional questions that you have.
Any questions, Wade? Chief Financial Officer, Mark.
For our current year budget, we're still awaiting approval from Division of Budget. I have not heard from them in a couple of weeks, so that's just kind of late this year. I'm not too sure why it's being held up, but it's gone through the initial process, and it's just on somebody's desk somewhere. And the 2010-11 budget will be presented next month, the December 9th meeting. I usually need about 45 minutes for that, maybe.
You're going to be presenting next year's budget maybe before we have approval on the current year.
I would plan on be doing that before we get that, yes. I think we'll have that next one passed before the approval.
Don't worry, 2010 and 2011 will take just as long.
So when we schedule next month's appointment, I'll need about 45 minutes to present that, just to let you know that. The physical inventory of assets, we talked about this a little bit last month. Our auditors recommended that we do this once a year, and I sent them over a summary of what we did and what our findings were and what came out of the physical inventory, and they just responded to me today. They'd like me to do one thing to enhance the report. We should provide a listing of the items no longer on hand to the board. So next month we'll have a resolution to get rid of 20 old items that aren't here any longer, and I suppose approve them.
items that you've identified that are not here?
And they're on the fixed asset listing on the books.
Okay.
Old computers, 40-year-old furniture, that's obviously no longer here. So
That's the time to clean it up.
now we'll clean it up, yeah. And they had a couple of observations about federal monies, which we don't receive any, so that's kind of a moot point. And a recommendation to possibly consider a barcoding system so that we can tag everything electronically. Well, Debbie and I talked about that actually when we did the physical inventory, so we'll look into the cost of that and see if it's worth monitoring. And otherwise, we've addressed their recommendation according to his letter there. We have the new rates for health insurance for 2010. We don't have the final yet, but we have got a rough, pretty good guess that they're going to go up about 13%.
And that's what they've been going up each year, isn't it?
It's between 10 and 15 the last few years, yeah. 10 and 12, and looks like 13 this year. And the quarterly cash and investment reports attached to see where our cash reserves are there, if you want to take a look at that. So, the highlights.
Questions? I just have one suggestion on the health insurance issue. You say 13%.
And the premium portion, which will be about a 9% overall increase, but the pure premium is going to go up about 13%. So there's a self-funding portion in there, so I think the real increase might be closer to 8 to 9.
We're still using the same company?
Same company.
Yeah. When's the last time we went up for pricing and bids?
The Benefit Services Group does it at Watertown. They're a health insurance consultant, if you will. They go out and look at MVP and Blue Cross and the other ones, and they come back with what they think is the best options for us.
The other problem there too is we're locked into a contract as to anything we sign has to
Union
be
agreement to some degree.
has to be the exact duplicate of what they have now. So if we go with a different company, we still have to have the same company.
Well, I don't say we should ever go with a different company, but I want them to make sure that we're on top of it. And we stay on top of it, and they know it. Because I tell you, if we don't watch Blue Cross and Blue Shield with our fund, and make sure that we're bringing competitive people that's out there looking for this money, they're looking for this business. There's a lot of people, and there's a lot of good insurance out there. So, this is a pretty good raise here they're asking for.
So, Mark, I'm going to be having lunch, I think it's next week, with an agency out of Syracuse that I've been in contact with the last month or so, and they claim they can offer all the same products as Benefit Services Group with substantial decrease. So if this turns out to be anything, I'll put you in contact with them.
Yep. Okay. Sounds good.
Thanks, Tom.
Thank you.
There's a lot of brokers out there looking for business. We just made some major changes with ours because the members can't afford to pay anymore. And that's where it's going to boil down to.
Well, the Marsh and McLennan lawsuits help, I think, that, too. Not locking people out of the market anymore.
I don't want to see the employees lose benefits, but I want to make sure that we can maintain their benefits.
Right.
The cost keeps going up. We have to take a look at it. And I think you have a committee anyway, so the union people that work with you on that, right? We have a committee that works on that?
We have a labor management meeting.
Right.
That we could always discuss.
And we'd be more than glad to help you with it. I know that. I'm not speaking for them, but I know we're all watching it. So, any other thing for Mark? Okay, we got John Reese's report before we address.
I'll pinch hit for John, starting off with the fact he's representing the Port of Ogdensburg at the IHO conference on today and tomorrow in Toronto. That's the marketing strategy for the Great Lakes St. Lawrence Seaway system. It includes U.S. and Canadian ports, so it's a pretty important meeting. Didn't want to miss it. Other things that are going on, there's a targeted 500-piece mailer for the agriculture industry. Ag remains strong. We still are exploring a process with Quebec. We're looking at barging a heavy piece of industrial equipment across the St. Lawrence River. It should be noted this option we could not do previously because of the lack of roll-on, roll-off capability that we gained through the windmill project. So that's another continuing potential benefit. We haven't got the business yet, but we're hopeful. Wood chips or wood pellets still remain strong. We have a lot of interest, still actively quoting business on that front. As I previously mentioned, the North Country Freight Needs Study and Comprehensive Plan is complete. The Eastern Ontario Economic Showcase with the county, the city of Ogdensburg, and the Bridgeport Authority went extremely well, and there's additional follow-up there, including 2 attorneys from Ottawa who are working at a U.S. facility. There's also been significant interaction between the Bridgeport Authority and the city with the resulting MBA class presentation that was conducted up at Carleton University, including the best of what the Bridgeport Authority and the city of Ogdensburg had to offer, so it's a good story there. Coming up in the near future is a U.S. Embassy Outreach event in Ottawa. That's in conjunction with the St. Lawrence County IDA, and we're continuing marketing efforts and retention efforts within the park.
Any questions of John's report? Director of Operations, Steve.
Is there one thing, Steve, before you start? Sure. I passed this out. I forgot to hit on this. This is the single audit report from March 31st, 2009 from our audit that was done back in June. We just received this yesterday. These are the same people that do our regular audit. This is a narrower scope audit with federal grant money. Basically, all 3 reports are unqualified, and there's no findings. But that's there's enough copies for you guys. I'll take those.
And that is required because you receive federal money.
Because of the money's dollar amount we received from federal money, that's a required audit.
Is there any highlights on that, Mark, that we should look at?
5 and 6, maybe 5 and 6. Schedule of findings and question costs on page 7. You'll see the summary of their results, the type of report they issue, any weaknesses identified, and you'll see there's nothing to report and there's no weaknesses identified. And on page 7, it shows that there were no findings last year either.
What about that?
No recommendation, anything, and just think maybe?
Typically in that kind of report, you wouldn't see recommendations.
Not up here.
You would see deficiencies, if any, existed. So,
Okay.
It's a good report.
Okay. Any other questions? Do we need a motion on that report, Mark?
No action.
Okay. Director of Operations, Steve Lawrence.
Just give you a quick highlight of some of the things we're doing. On the industrial park, just so the board knows, the repair of the rooftop units that were damaged by the hailstorm this summer have been completed. And we're looking to, we'll discuss hail guards, but the hail guard, I think what we'll do is we'll just get ready for that project and bid it out so that they'll be ready to go this spring.
Steve, what happens to the old units?
The old units were...
The pilot,
No, what they do is they drain them of any refrigerants or anything like that. The old units are all part of the contract to be taken off.
so we don't keep our storable parts or anything like that. We
Just scrap them out, yeah.
Okay.
And then with all the regulations on coolant,
Yeah, that's big.
they just have to tag it, and then they've got to take it to a proper spot. But, all those units were just turned over to Train. But Train did a good job of that, and that came out. So far, everything looks really good, but it's all complete. One thing with the bridge, just to know in that first item, you see the scheduled bid date is scheduled for January 12th, 2010, and we're also going to schedule a mandatory pre-bid meeting, so that would, if you don't attend to that, you're not allowed to bid on this project, but things are moving along with that project there. On the airport, it's been a busy construction season. Activity is starting to wind down, but we still have a number of loose ends you can see there. But I expect a lot of those to be completed by the end of the month, probably part of next month, and that'll put us in good shape. On the port, Salt delivery, depending right now, will all be dependent on weather. It's been, most everybody's gotten the supplies they need, and it'll pick up depending on weather, but right now things kind of slow as moving salt. And our port security project, that's another one. We'll be bidding that out the middle of December. The documents are complete and will be ready to be put out on the street in another, probably by the end of the month. We did have, you'll see, well, it's kind of run together, but the U.S. Coast Guard did their annual facility inspection, and with that was a 5-year review of our facility security plan. They go through that very detailed, and right now they have our security plan, and they report back to us what we need to improve on that. But it just the plan just tells how we're going to run our federally regulated facility. And I did report to the facilities committee a request that the board had for price quotes for a larger conveyor, and that'll probably be talked about with the facilities committee notes. And any questions?
What do they use beet pulp for?
It's a feed. Yeah, it's just like citrus pulp. It's just a new item that they had available.
Steve, on the airport, the Sheehan is doing the work out there?
On the airport, the
runway and all of that?
Yeah.
For the next meeting, can you have a report either from CC, the engineering company,
Or CNS engineers?
on the changes in the scope of work that wasn't performed and properly, and what they did and how they changed the scope of the agreement for the full board to be aware of that? Either have CNS with a CN engineering come and give us a full report. The job did not come through according to the bid specs that was put out. There's been some changes and stuff. And I think they should bring that to the board.
Good idea, we'll do that.
And I don't know anymore either. I know there's some things we should know. The other one, Steve, if you would comment on it, I was down the other day and Steve took me around a couple places to look at some stuff, and he was showing me some new barricades that you're building.
Oh, yeah.
Could you explain that to the board for
part of our facilities security plan? We have to describe what we have for our secure area when a vessel's in, and the way that our plan was written that before in the previous 5-year program was that the whole port was a secure area. So for those of you that had entered when we had windmills and everything, right when you came in the gate, you had to show your ID, and at the time the TWIC regulations weren't involved, which is a special credential. But right now, anybody that's involved in the either has to be escorted or have a TWIC card to work in a secure area. So what I was talking to the chairman about was in our next 5-year plan, we've worked on some, like concrete, called small foundations for portable that you can move with a forklift, and you'd slide a pole and temporary fencing on so that...
Jersey barriers.
Well, not quite here, not all concrete. There'd be a base, and they'd be just like a base for a fence pole. We'd fence off the area. And we'd fence off the area so that those tenants that have work to do wouldn't be under those restrictions, so that we kind of just nailed it down. It's easier for us to control the area now, and then it makes it better for the clients.
Then we change our port security manual.
Yeah, that's what they're reviewing now. They may come back to us and go, and we talked off the record, about what we were planning on doing. They didn't have a whole lot of objections, but you've got to do what you state you're going to do. So
That's why manual has to update it too, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So right now, it has been updated. Tisha helped with that, and that they'll come back to us with either some comments, probably back and forth. Maybe it's all approved, but I was just showing the chairman kind of what all we were doing to just narrow that down so that it would be a little less.
I think it's a great idea.
Yeah, it'd be a little less.
Definitely takes a little more leniency for other people going in and out of there. And Roger especially.
Yeah, right. Sneaking out.
Roger's got his clearance now, so he can get out there. Thanks, Steve. Any other questions of Steve? Very good. Okay, we're going to go into committees reports. The first one, report. Sam, you got anything?
We'll have a review of the situation.
Okay.
Action.
All right, so we'll need an executive session at the end. Okay. Facility committee?
Facilities committee met today at 2:30 until about 10 minutes after 3. The full board had asked Steve to come up with some quotes for the replacement of the conveyors. He gave us a wish list, a high-end conveyor, and some pricing to go along with that, as well as for a smaller conveyor. We discussed the railroad repairs to the engine house. Apparently, Vermont Rail has gone ahead and replaced the roof already at about $40,000. And one of the items that the board, that the facilities committee discussed is whether or not and how much we should offer to reimburse Vermont Rail for that expenditure.
We've been free rent for a couple of years, maybe.
To be quite honest, the committee had differing views on how to handle it, and so what we'd like to do is actually involve the board in a discussion of that. I don't know when that would be appropriate, at the end of the meeting, maybe?
We've actually got that listed on the agenda item, so we'll talk about it to see what.
And usually, when it comes out of the committee, we can make a recommendation, but we really weren't able to today. We had, to be quite honest, three different opinions on the matter, and we thought...
Can you imagine that?
We thought it would be a good idea.
That's true.
We brought to our attention on October 27th a letter from the DEC about BART, which stands for Best Available Retrofit Technology. He's going to look further into that to see what that imposes upon us.
I got an email by the DEC.
Yes, I saw it was addressed to you, and so we'll have a further I'm glad you do. That's about it, so.
Don, you in the report? Roger?
Yes, I checked with Mrs. Hill. Everything's fine.
Everything's fine?
Today.
Good. Events and activities upcoming December 9th. Everybody okay on that date?
Do we need to wait 45 minutes earlier for work?
Is it possible if we do 3 o'clock start? I'm hopeful that we'll get the consultant here for the North Country Freight Needs OBPA master
But then
plan.
we have to back up further for him because he also has a budget issue, right?
Yeah, well, 45 minutes time to present the budget.
So 2 o'clock?
Looks like we'd probably be okay.
You think at 3 o'clock?
3 o'clock and we'll buy dinner?
You going to bring in a reps?
Well, let me ask you this. He needs an extra 45 minutes for the full board. The freight needs study is going to be given to the full board too. So if we said...
Typically, not a lot of items on the December agenda. I mean,
Okay.
not that I don't know, but...
Facilities committee, do you foresee a meeting for the facilities committee?
I believe that we should have a CNS engineer in here somewhere there.
Yeah, there will be a need for a facilities committee, and Greenman Peterson is also requesting to come in and talk to us. So
That's going to be an awful
that's going to be a long meeting. So we'll have short agenda items, but
So can we put anything off until the January meeting or no?
doing it at 2.
Go for 2.
When do you want the facilities committee to come in then?
If need be, we'll bring them at 1:30. Because there shouldn't be anything on
So
there.
the full board meeting at 2 and possible facilities at 1:30.
I'd be more comfortable leaving it.
Will you email us, Wade, or Keisha, or somebody about the 1:30 start time?
We'll make a decision. We should know before Thanksgiving if we're going to have items.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, business items.
Very few business items tonight. The first one is agenda item A1. This may come back before you. It's my understanding this is about 95% complete. But the lease may
may or may not be in the mail at this point, so that's why this one is on here. This is for 292 square feet, room 210 here in the Bridgeport Authority Administration Building for a company called Country Down. This agreement included an option to renew their lease for 2 years at the rate of $9.97 per square foot. The supplemental lease would be for the same square footage amount, the rate of $9.97 per square foot, period December 1st, 2009 through November 30th, 2011.
A motion to accept?
I'll make the motion.
Second. Steve? All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Agenda item B1 is transfer and storage agreement with Jim Robertson. This is for the airport. His lease expires November 30th, 2009. And term of the agreement December 1st of this year through November 30th of next year.
A motion?
I'll make that.
Roger?
I'll second.
Sam seconds. All in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed?
Next item is identical lease agreement, but this customer has a little bit different terms and arrangement. This is a transfer and storage agreement for John J. Beerhart, $185 per month for 6 months, commencing December 1st. Now, this one's different because payment is made in full in advance on this account in the amount of $1,110. Other than that, it's the same as our standard lease agreement.
You got the money?
Yes.
Okay.
Why was this particular person want to do it this way?
This particular person, this is an airplane that his father owned. This is one of the non-flight-worthy aircraft that is out there. Mr. Beerhart works out of the country and basically just keeps this on a rotating basis. He's got to get somebody up here from Syracuse, get an airframe and power plant certified, and then it can go after that. But my understanding is he's having difficulty coordinating all that to make it happen. And this is our, help me out here, Steve, is this our 3rd or 4th 6-month renewal on this prepay?
You have about 2 full years. At least 3.
That'd be at least 3. So in 2 years, the plane has not been flight ready, but that's kind of coordinating getting the certificate.
Yes, Eric.
Interesting.
That's an expensive deal, isn't it? Unless the board member wants to find out if it's quite worthy.
Yep, moving right along. Motion and John, second.
I second.
Steve, all in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So,
Okay, the last item for the sake of discussion, I'm just going to throw out a number here. This is approval of repairs to the engine house. When last we had a board meeting, there was a request that came from the New York and Ogdensburg Railway mentioning that they were doing an emergency replacement on the roof for $40,200. You'll recall we requested some backup documentation to that. Backup documentation being a schematic of what they were going to do, cost, who was going to do it, and a couple other pieces of information. They have since provided that information and installed the roof. That's correct. The roof is done. We were over there on Friday and took a look at it. That kind of leaves us in a spot here. We talked about this at the facility committee, didn't come to a consensus, and now we're at the full board level. The initial number I originally threw out was $15,000 for discussion purposes, but that was strictly for discussion. There was no motive or intent behind that number.
One of our board members felt that we should offer nothing based on the fact that general maintenance expenses were required by our lessor. Some of us questioned whether or not a new roof was a general maintenance expense, and that it was improving a building that belongs to us in any event. I'll reveal my comment was, geez, they used a Vermont contractor. They didn't go get 3 quotes. Our requirement for anything over $5,000 is 3 written quotes, and for that that reason, because they did improve our property, I think we should offer them $5,000 and outline why we can only do that, and that's because our procurement guidelines are $5,000, and they didn't get 3 written quotes. And if they had given us advance notice, we would have said, here's what we're going to require for that kind of money, which would be written quotes. And the truth of the matter is, personally, I had a little bit of an issue with the fact that they brought somebody in from Vermont. Granted, I'm sure he did a great job, and I'm sure it's somebody that's used all the time, but it certainly wasn't a Northern New York contractor that our authority, New York authority, was lining some pockets up. So that was my take on it.
And the additional information that's going around is the information that we requested from New York and Ogdensburg that was provided. There's some photos in there of what they're actually, what they have actually completed since the last time we talked.
The last time we did a repair was, Steve, 3 years ago, and we gave
2006.
3 years ago, and we did know that there were problems with the roof, and we gave Steve the go-ahead to go ahead and basically make Band-Aid repairs, and it came out to be about $12,000 in 2006.
And I was the one that said I disagreed in the committee to give me anything because we already given $12,000. We approved $15,000. Steve went down and did the kind of a Band-Aid situation till we found out where we're going. In the meantime, we've had about $300,000 from DOT to put in a new engine house. And the board at one time agreed, all of us, to build a new engine house over here. They kind of played with that and did some things, and we never ended up with a new engine house, and everything we did.
They wanted the engine house to stay where it was and for us to fix it up.
And for whatever reasons, they were punctual, so there was still $300,000. Then they took some money out of there, reduced it down to $290,000 or $280,000. And then in the meantime, they requested DOT to give them permission to use that money instead of fixing the building a rail house. They wanted to use that money for track repair from Norwood to Norfolk, which I totally objected to because I said there's no customers on the line or whatever. And at that time, right to this day, I don't know if they've ever done anything for that money.
One other additional thing that was discussed was, does the contract provide for maintenance and who pays? Since the facilities committee meeting, I found it in the contract, section 4.03, maintenance and operating expenses, all expenses incurred in connection with maintenance of facility, definition of facility including the rail house, and the provision of rail service, including cost of insurance, cost of preparation of reports required under the terms of this agreement, shall be paid by the New York and Ogdensburg.
So we've had a lot of discussion about it this morning, and they went ahead and had the roof repaired since, well, whatever you want to call that. To me, it's a repair. I mean, I've looked at the structure.
We broke it up and pitched it.
They put some trusses in. They brought another state contractor in to do it, which that's their priority. It's their business. They run that business, not us. So therefore, I totally object to giving them anything. I don't think we should. Contract's very clear. It's up to them to maintain the bill. Don't forget, we lost $300,000, and I still don't know if the work has ever been done. Did they ever repair the rail?
Well, we didn't lose the $300,000. Where is it? It's still associated with project ending in 1/6, but it's still out there.
Yeah.
The dollars are still out.
Yeah. It's just another nightmare that we have. So, I don't really have any obligation to pay them anything.
One of the key issues as far as maintenance...
They took over from El Shapiro, 5 years ago?
Do we define this as general maintenance or capital maintenance? If it's capital maintenance, it's one thing. If it's general maintenance, it's arguably another. And hence the reason we need the input from the full board on this. Do we give them nothing, something, half? I don't know.
One line of thought, which is, geez, if we do it now, we've opened Pandora's box. But I also think that if we were to, for example, follow our own procurement policies, $5,000, certainly outlining them why we're restrained to our own procurement policies restrain us from spending more, letting them know that in the future this is what our process is. Maybe we will be brought in, especially if they want to be reimbursed, be brought in at an earlier date and time so that their emergency won't be at the 11th hour, but rather, hey, in the next few months we need to do such and such, and work on getting quotes together and work on getting a, construction schedule together.
I remember looking at that building, 3 years ago. We were over there. Nobody had done any work on that building. Before these guys were there, whoever was the president.
Shapiro.
General deterioration does happen. You keep a building there for that's another building to begin with.
Right.
Just it's not work on. And whether you could have avoided what they had to pay to fix the roof, I don't know, because the building is 80. I'm on.
It's a flat roof. Was a flat roof.
I live in northern New York, but there was not a lot of work being done on it. Had not been done on it for a long time, so Steve did some minor. We call alcohol money, or he patched it so it didn't leak all over the place. Basically,
And some Band-Aid repairs.
you have a legitimate right to hold them to that with regard to procurement policy because they did this. They made a request for money. It's pretty clear that they have an obligation to maintain the building. And it hasn't been maintained.
Yeah, well, see, the question I would have is back in 2006, we repaired and we did the maintenance part of the roof. We had to. I understand that. So obviously our repair, rehab, whatever you want to call it, wasn't sufficient to take care of the problem. So here we are 4 years later.
Well, the one caveat that they'll say, and I don't mean to interrupt you, but at the time we did that, we were under the assumption we were building a new one.
That's right. Right, and I understand it, but
no more money was
I see as they sort this thing out, in their mind, they're saying, well, wait a minute. We're going to fix this so as to take care of the problem, and this building means enough to them, or whatever you want to say it. Let's do this and restructure it so it will drain properly, and it will go off the water will drain where it's supposed to drain.
But I also think by them reconfiguring the roof the way it is also supports their position, which is we don't want to move from here, we want this one fixed up. So it kind of entrenches their heels in the ground too a little further.
I don't know if the $300,000 that was allocated, what was left of it, would be enough money to rehab that building.
They asked for 110 or 120 a few years ago.
Yeah, I was going to say, because rehabbing that building is going to cost you more than building, I think.
Yeah. Did they put metal on, Fred, or shingles?
It is a metal roof.
It's a metal roof? Oh.
They take care of their own maintenance work and stuff. They don't come to us and ask us if they have to do it. That's what their contract calls.
And that's one of the issues really here is putting a new roof on. Is that general maintenance or is it capital maintenance? And I got to tell you, if I was the owner of the building, just like we are out here, I don't want SSA coming over and putting a new roof on that we have no knowledge of and we'd had no input on. I don't want such a student donation. Exactly. We want to have input. And I think this is the way to let them know that we didn't have input. And secondly, even if we had, our procurement policies are such and such. But I also do think we need to face the fact that they put a $40,000 roof on that will and has maintained the integrity of.
Probably give them a lot of use of the building for a lot of years. Sure. That is the biggest problem. Or buildings being kind to it on the inside. But you got to remember what that building's been used for 50, 60 years. And diesel engines with diesel oil and mechanics and everything. No shop keeps it as clean as you like to clean them. There's no way to do it. So I don't get as upset by the dirt on the inside, but building falling down would be kind of upsetting. And that's what could have happened without the roof eventually.
Oh, sure, no question.
But so that's one thing to
So he's correct, she's correct.
Everybody's correct.
So now what are we really obligated to do? Back at Fred's point. What the procedures are they supposed to follow and not follow?
But don't even by us showing them good faith and some sort of money and also telling them how they should have gone about it and why our hands are tied here, that in the future we won't come up with an issue like this.
I don't think that we should open that contract up, do anything different to that contract. That's a negotiated agreement.
Do you really think that's
a legal document, and if we start wiggling in to start and open up these agreements, you're going to open up a lot of it. And that's not our job.
No, we own every building over there, and when that roof leaks, we go put the roof on. We don't say, hey,
they knew what their obligation was. They haven't done anything to do anything over there. This is the first time they've done anything, and how long have they been there?
6 years, I think.
We had to send Steve over there, we spent $12,000. Is that right, Steve? Now, another 5, that's $17,000 we give. These people have an obligation. I asked the CFO, how much money have we got in the last 5 years? Give me just a number.
We're talking about the railroad.
I'm talking about the railroad. What have we benefited from?
5% that you receive.
That's what you receive.
But we also now have salt being brought in by rail, which means we get the extra handling and the port business for that, for the trucking and
yeah, a little further than that, too. We're out of the rail business per se, so we don't have those expenses. Plus, eventually, all of our rail will be up to snuff as far as being able to handle heavy roads. Eventually. It's going to take some more time, but so far that's not costing us any...
Couple more administration.
Yeah, thanks. 20 more miles we have. But, you know, we got 80-pound rail. That's not good for any...
I understand what you're saying, Frank. I understand $5,000 is, but now call us from now on. I don't want anything to do with their derailments they've had or anything else. Is that our problem too, Frank?
No.
Is that our problem?
No. We can maintain the road.
We're not going to open a key and go right. But that agreement is what it is. They're going to live with it.
Well, my question was, you're pretty good strong on these things, Fred.
Well, I'm not going to open it somewhere where we start being liable. Mary said we owned the building. We own the line, too. But when they had derailments, it was their fault the derailments went. And you can only go several miles an hour. So the guy was doing 11 when he took the train off. Now we're going to pay for that?
The agreement I read has them not only insuring huge insurance policy, but indemnifying us against any actions. That's what would be a little different.
Let me ask this question. Procedurally, when did you know the roof was going to go on, and how did we know?
We got that letter.
We received a letter the day of the board meeting.
So the roof already started, and nobody knew that they were doing the roof. Is that correct?
That's right.
Yeah.
So they went on their own endeavor to do
They had to.
I understand, but I'm just saying it. So they moved forward, and they didn't really think about anything other than the fact.
I think they were looking for a request for a contribution.
Right. There's no question.
I don't know if we'd be that upset.
That's a
Mary Church is looking for something.
We don't own St. Mary's Church. We own that building. And that agreement says general maintenance. It does not say capital maintenance.
Well, I have Frank ready to go over and report back to us in December.
If they had maintained the building over the 6 years before, they could have inspected and said, look, this is mine. How would they have done this? That's what it's about. If they maintained the roof, however, they didn't do anything on it until Steve fixed it, my understanding.
They haven't done nothing since then.
So you could actually send them a letter that said, basically, we actually request, only way we can actually handle a request like this if it's done to us prior to actually done, and it violates our procurement policy, violates everything we stand for as far as employment and more
Public authority.
I think you got to spell out the one thing I agreed to.
And that's the other part of the problem here, too, is we're operating on public. If this were our project, we'd put it out to bid, go through all the procurement policy that we currently would.
You have an engineer study.
New York and Ogdensburg, private entity.
Yeah, they don't have to.
But that's fine, but that's also my point, too, that they did that at their own peril, so to speak, at their own risk. But I mean, I just don't think you get away from the fact that that is our building, and if they walked away tomorrow and said the railroad line is no longer, profitable for us either, we still ended up with the building with a new roof on it. Is it worth $40,000 to us for a new roof? Probably not, but it certainly is worth something more than nothing.
Just take a vote on it. Yeah, I remember.
There's one thing, with the specs being around, I was kind of reading into them a little bit. They talked about the roof could actually be rebuilt in the future now that new roof is on. I was just glancing at it as it went around. I guess what I'm saying is there's possible future improvements to the building. It doesn't make sense to me that inner roof is going to probably stay there that long if it's rotting already or if it's unsafe already. It's probably something that needs to be done in the future. So we aren't just talking about the roof, we're talking about perhaps some future work on it.
Last time we went to the DOT for money, we specifically needed money for the engine house, and they gave us $300 to build a new engine house or repair that one down there. And the big discussion here with the board at that time, Steve, is we all voted 100% to build a new engine house here. So every idea that we gave those folks from the railroad wasn't what they wanted. They wanted to build a certain thing a certain way over here. We looked at it, and they wanted to use it, and we caught it in the way they were doing it. They wanted to do car repairs. They wanted to start up doing a car repair shop. And we said, no, that isn't what this is all about. And they wanted to put it by the concrete plant. Well, when that one went, no, we didn't want that. We wanted to do this one. Boom, everything come up with a block every time. So then they got the DOT involved in it. And I don't think the DOT cared where we spent the $300,000. As long as it was on the building. So we ended up getting nothing. Absolutely nothing. Okay, for the $300,000.
What my point is I agree with you. That I don't think we should give them anything. But within the context of that letter, knowing that there's future improvements that need to be made to the building, this is the way we do business. We must do it by steps 1, 2, and 3. And also in that letter, if you decide to go other than the way we have business, then it's going to be at die.
But do we want to give them that option? The truth of the matter is our building. We want input on what's happening in that building. We don't have to put his cell phone towers on it. You know what I'm saying? I mean,
you got to decide between the devil and the seat. Do you want to put money into the building? Yeah, rights. Or do you want to, so it's all the way we do it, that's fine. Then they've done it according to the way we are businessing. We really want to avoid that extra expense, because remember, when they share that expense with you, if they want to share it, we're going to talk on a lot different rate than what we have to pay.
Well, one of the other ones is we take on responsibility and liability, too, because I don't know what kind of roof they really put on down. I don't know what the structure is. I don't know if it's going to push on the outside walls. If it's going to hold up. And when they get a heavy snow on it this year, if it collapses, I don't want to be part of that. Because they didn't build it some kind of a code or something. That's not our job. It's their job to maintain that. Not ours. If it was our building and our responsibility, we put the bids out a long time ago, right, Steve? We had $300,000. We should have put the bids out.
Just one thing for the other board members. In 2006, everybody here had a different mindset, and it all relates to the engine house. So if you think of it now as maybe being a little more permanent out there, what they're doing there, we would have, things would be a little different, would have been back then, but the idea was we were only going to be around just to get by for a couple of years, and then we're going to move out. And if we had that mentality that, well, we want to do this for 10 or 15 years, well, I think we would have done something a little different there, but
we wouldn't have took the money out of there. We took the money out to put in the track and into the rail. And then they kept playing around with that until they didn't get the line fixed. Well, we got to fix it. We had a derailment.
With the repair.
Or derailment.
In line with
right. We were the understanding that this wouldn't be around, and there's no point of throwing good money after what we had.
Let me go back to my other point. Let's go back to my other point. Is the communication between Wade and these other people, whatever. Where is the verbal or oral communication is involved here? It just seems to me there was no communication. Nobody knew who was doing what.
On this one, they took it upon themselves and basically sent us a letter asking for some money. They operated in a private manner.
Yeah, and I think that's a telltale for me.
Am I correct that the lease is, everybody would be having this discussion, probably silent as to any definition of capital improvement or general?
Where do you read it?
Let me answer one question first, and I'll get right to yours. Under the terms of the agreement for the improvements, any of the structures, any of the rail, any of the switches can be moved from place to place by the New York and Ogdensburg Railway at their discretion. Specifically, they may move track switches, other rail structures about the facility for use on local industrial spurs, which are contiguous with the facility. Translation, they can basically do what they need to do. And that's section 3.08. There's a termination of the agreement. It's Article 7, Section 701.4, that if the New York and Ogdensburg were to notify us that they could no longer fund necessary repairs, with written notice we could declare them in breach. And getting to your question
Ramona. Interim maintenance shall mean inspection, repair, emergency repairs, and a planned program of periodic maintenance, which is required to keep the track in its existing condition or to comply with FRA Class 1 standards, whichever is greater, and any maintenance necessary to keep equipment in good working order in compliance with federal and state standards.
So the only definition of maintenance belongs to track and equipment.
I guess.
And feeling that they're responsible for general maintenance.
That's correct as well.
Okay.
There's the copy of the agreement. And new board members, I apologize. This is kind of an old issue. We should get you up to speed, and we'll make sure that you get a copy of that as well.
Thank you.
You could table it the next, so every board member gets a chance to read it.
Mark, is that a repair?
Frank, let me ask you this question as our legal.
You read that agreement.
You read that agreement.
Yes. You know how many years?
You have read that agreement. That's right. In your legal opinion, we don't have any obligation to do that.
Looking at the definitions.
Yeah.
I think that since they took it upon themselves to do it
I would say
without your consent, they assumed the responsibility of making the change.
They assume the risk. I agree with
They
that.
assumed the risk. If they had come to you and said, this building needs a new roof,
By winter.
and you guys got to do it, but it's not part of our agreement, your choice was either do it or don't. If it collapses, then we got big problems because it was in crappy shape. I don't know how much snow it could take, depending on the winter.
See, that's why I never wanted to divert that money from the DOT for that building. I knew this would happen. And right to this day, I don't know where that money has been spent. You?
But how do you get around the fact that our building has a roof on it? It's at least worth, you know.
If I rent your building, and without your consent,
Oh, I'm going to be mad you put a roof on my building.
will I have to pay you for it too?
No.
No, you don't have to pay me for what I spend in my pocket.
That's really, to me though, that's beyond what we're doing here. I mean, we already have a relationship with these people. You know, they certainly are better than our past, the people who ran the rail in the past. We've known that they wanted to stay there. When they took us on a tour this summer, they told us that they needed a new roof. I wasn't surprised by getting that letter. I have to tell you, I was surprised that tonight, this afternoon, when Wade says, and I said, these are pictures of, is the roof on? Absolutely, but their emergency last month was fixed by this month.
Well, maybe what we should do
What's your learning process?
table this for now and let Wade, the facility committee, meet with DOT and see if we can recruit that money that he says is still in the pie, still there, and ask the DOT if we can now get that money back, us, as the Bridgeport Authority, and in the spring we'll have an engineer study done and put up a new building or whatever. Or we do that building, retool it, whatever.
Actually, that's not going to be an option because the contract is between DOT and New York and Ogdensburg.
Oh, it is?
Not between the DOT and us.
So they put this in a work account?
No, that's why they can't reports accounts. That's exactly why they can't.
Yeah, they couldn't pull the money out. Like, let's say that 280 that's sitting there in the track. You couldn't pull that out and reverse it and give it to OBPA. I mean, they would go back.
No, we can put it over bid, though. Let me find out what the controller says about it.
We really don't. I think he's saying that because the contract is another party to that.
Members like to look at the.
I would like to do that. I move that we table this issue for the next meeting.
Second? All in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. I don't know what you say.
Thank you, folks.
Right.
Can you schedule a January board meeting? We couldn't get a calendar on the next agenda.
Well, we usually do January, what, about the second or third week?
Well, we used to be different because we used to have a show about the budget, and now we don't have that because they now want it early, remember?
The second or third week could probably be.
Tuesday the 12th or the third week would be Tuesday the 19th.
How about the 19th? That'd probably work a little bit better. We'll have everything nailed down that what we need to have nailed down. Maybe we'll even things over you quick.
So January 19th? How does that sound to everybody?
January 19th, 4 o'clock? And December 9, 2 o'clock.
Okay, you want it West Palm or do you want it, Palm? Where do you want it?
What time, Mary?
You want to report out of there? Okay.
But you know December 9th?
I missed the meeting, just overall.
You walked in at some point in time during our discussion with Mr. Britt. At $600 an hour.
Okay. So on 600?
Yeah.
Okay.
What do you need to group on?
Regular items for board.
Okay, so let me run down my things from activity. January 19th, moves the meeting August 10th. Motor storage room, citizens. Comments and citizens, board members, anything? The press got anything? Okay. You want to do that afterwards? We need a motion to go to executive session for personnel issues. Motion made by Mary, seconded by Don or Roger. All in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Out of order.
Can I go over somebody's got the contract. Pull that back up, that down, please. Oh, there's three.